So, welcome to our peace session tonight. Peace is the cornerstone of Rotary's mission. From the very early beginnings, when Rotary International organization was started, promoting peace was interwoven into Rotary's tapestry. I'm Ingrid Nietzsche. I'm the Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator for Zone 28, and I am very excited to welcome you tonight to this important peace event. In our audience tonight, we have senior Rotary leaders. We have our trustees, Marty Hellman, trustee Dean Rohrs. We have our director-elect, Chris Etienne. We have our Zone 28 Foundation team. We have my partner, Zone 32 Foundation Coordinator, Eileen Rao, and many district governor teams that are representing their districts. In addition, we also want to welcome the Rotarians that are representing their clubs, that are representing their district peace committees. We have Rotaractors, Interactors. We have members of an international saging chapter and members of a book club, all interested in this session tonight. In addition, Learn Peace Canada, World Peace Partners Organization, and the Waterton Glacier International Peace Park Association Board of Directors are also on this call. A special welcome to those Rotarians who have chosen to dedicate and donate to the Rotary Peace Centers as their legacy gift. And I want to mention that we also have a brand new Rotary Peace Fellow joining us tonight. Wow, this diverse audience from across Canada and the United States have come together for one reason: to learn and share about our peace efforts. While Rotary's area of focus, peace and conflict resolution, is fairly well known, there are many other programs that Rotary supports around the world. In addition to the peace centers, which fund the master's degrees and peace certificates, Rotary is also involved in disaster response in Ukraine, where the midst of war, and efforts are currently underway to help with Turkey and Syria with their earthquake disasters. As well, local Rotarians dedicate peace poles in their communities, and positive peace activators train local Rotarians to help with peace building efforts. So, how does all this happen? Well, it's donations to the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation is the engine that supports these many peace efforts around the world. Tonight, we have the privilege of hearing from 4 prominent Rotary leaders about peace programs, peace centers, peace partnerships, and peace projects. Each speaker will be introduced by one of our Assistant Regional Rotary Foundation coordinators, and throughout the presentations, please feel welcome to place questions in the chat. We'll have a chance to look at those a little bit later in the program. And now, let's start with our first speaker. I will turn this over to Randy Etema, who will introduce Fergal.
It's my pleasure to introduce Fergal McCarthy. He's the Peace Programs Manager at Rotary International. One of his key responsibilities at Rotary is the continued implementation of an overarching strategic plan for the many peace-building activities that Rotary currently offers, as well as all Rotary International organized peace conferences and events moving forward. More recently, he has been overseeing Rotary's growing collaboration, Welcome.us, an organization seeking to engage Rotary members based in the U.S. with the opportunity to sponsor Ukrainian families that have been displaced by war. He is a member of the Rotary E-Club of World Peace. Before taking the position at Rotary, Fergal worked at the RAND Corporation in California, the Prime Minister's Office in Ireland, as well as the Irish Foreign Ministry. He holds several degrees, including theology and world religions, international peace studies, comparative ethnic conflict studies, and international relations. The last one is from the University of Cambridge. So please welcome Fergal.
Okay, thank you for that, Randy, and thank you to Ingrid and to everyone throughout the zone and throughout the districts for the opportunity to be with you here today and to mark Rotary Peace Month. I thought I would get the bad news or the depressing news out of the way first so that we can end on a more uplifting note. As you are probably all too aware, if you pay attention to the headlines today, there's an ever-increasing need for all of us to do our part in peace building throughout our communities and across the globe. Something that Rotary has been doing for decades, of course, but the need for those efforts has not diminished in any way in recent times. We have an ongoing war in Ukraine, of course, a war that is expected to turn an even darker corner in the coming months, with continued loss of life, unfortunately, and the continued destruction of the country. And that is to mention just one conflict of the many that are ongoing across the map. The UN has reported that with the war in Ukraine, we have now reached a record high number of displaced peoples across the globe, surpassing the dreary figure of over 100 million people displaced in the world today. And that figure continues to climb. It's higher than 100 million at this stage. Even before Russia launched this war against Ukraine, the OECD had been reporting that the world was already experiencing a 30-year high in violent conflict. Just last year, the OECD released a report that found a distinct increase in the number of fragile states and contexts worldwide, with 1.9 billion people, so 24% of the world's population, living in environments plagued by chronic instability, conflict, or violence. And of course, we are still emerging from the pandemic, a global event that was not only a health crisis, but also fueled global insecurity that has created long-term social, political, and economic consequences. And of course, there is also the issues of climate change, the minor issues of climate change, food insecurity, and energy insecurity, all of which have been exacerbated by all of the above. But Rotary does respond. One inspiring way in which Rotary is working on these issues is the way in which it has responded to the war in Ukraine. When the war broke out, Rotary clubs were quick to react to the needs of basic supplies such as water, food, and medical equipment, as well as many more. In addition to this, and in response to the demands of our members that wanted to do more, we revised the Disaster Response Fund to create an official channel of giving that directly supported relief efforts within Ukraine, the surrounding districts, and the resettlement efforts across the globe. In a 2-month period, so we're talking just March and April of last year, Rotarians contributed over 15 million to those relief efforts, all of which have now been spent down. And in January of just this year, the trustees have approved a new fund that will do the same thing just over an extended period of time. So the contributions will be collected over the course of this calendar year, running to the 31st of December, and then the spend down will be the 6 months, the final 6 months of Rotary year 2023 to 24, so running until the 30th of June 2024. So a really inspiring example of how Rotary is responding. I can't really say next slide if I'm moving them on, can I? Okay, to pivot slightly, for those that wanted to deepen their engagement in Rotary Peace and continue to lend their time and resources and talents to peace building, I was asked to highlight one resource in particular, the Rotary Peace Programs brochure. This brochure is a high-level overview of all of the peace building programs, initiatives, and activities that our members are currently engaged with. As a resource, we wanted it to be as visually engaging as it is informative. And our target audience is not only Rotarians, but also the wider public. So really trying to branch out beyond the Rotary world, in addition to the Rotary world as well. And to tie it to peace building efforts across the globe, we launched it on International Peace Day, the 21st of September last year. In addition to the brochure, we are just about to release the Rotary Peace Program's PowerPoint presentation deck. This is going to be released in the Peace Month this month. So we're hoping to get it out in the next couple of days. We want this resource to allow members to showcase and build awareness around the multitude of peace building programs and activities and initiatives that we currently offer. So a resource, a tool for Rotarians to really sort of preach the cause. And again, the target audience is not just Rotarians, but also the wider public. And I'll hopefully be able to get a early release version forwarded onto Ingrid, who can share it around following this meeting. This is the release, so please look out for these social media posts that will come out in the next couple of days, marking Peace Month and releasing the presentation deck itself. Another resource is the Everyday Peace Builder list. This is a one-pager flyer. We wanted to essentially boil down the contents of the brochure to an even more succinct resource. So a one-pager document that gave you, as it says here, the top 10 ways that you can be an everyday peace builder. So really sort of getting straight to what's available to our members and how they can engage and where they can get more information. So another resource just to keep in mind. Okay, one of the peace building initiatives that was mentioned, that is mentioned within the brochure, that I was asked to highlight on today's session is the Rotary Global Peace Builder District Recognition Program. This recognition program is recognizes districts that make contributions of $25,000 or more in DDF or district cash that go on to fund our two flagship peace building initiatives, the Rotary Peace Fellowship and the Rotary Peace Building Area of Focus, and all the peace building activities that come from that. The recognition is for just 1 year. And to explain what it is, it's probably easier for me to explain what it used to start with what it used to be. Previously, this recognition program only went towards the peace centers, and it only recognized funds that were made available for immediate expenditure. A couple of years back, we really wanted to revise it and expand it so that we could really sort of pay homage to all of the districts that were supporting our peace building efforts in whatever way they gave. So we extended it not only to recognize immediate expenditure funds, but also funds that went to the endowment for the Peace Fellowship. We also expanded it to the area of focus for peace and the IEP partnership on all of the peace building activities that have come from that. And again, any funds that were made available for immediate expenditure or any funds that went to the endowment. So in either case, so essentially 4 giving options. We've also previously we had accepted cash as an afterthought or as a favor to some districts. Now we are openly advertising the fact that we accept DDF as well as district cash. So we really wanted to make it as easy as possible for people to give and support and engage with our two main flagship peace building initiatives. And in this zone 28, which has been a major supporter of this program, many districts throughout the zone have either achieved this recognition by giving the full 25 or have continued to make smaller contributions that are equally as important. So districts such as 5040, 5550, 6290, 6310, 6360, 7810 have all made significant contributions. 7810, I believe, is now 7815, but it was 7810 when the contribution was made. And just a brief mention before I hand it over to the next speakers, the benefits of supporting these two peace building activities are going to be evident in this session itself. As we hear from our next two speakers, Summer Lewis and Simona Pinton, two direct beneficiaries of the peace building programs that the Global Peace Builder District Program, Recognition Program tries to support. Summer as a Rotary Peace Fellow and Simona as a beneficiary or graduate of the Rotary Positive Peace Activator trainings. And with that, I will hand it back over to Ingrid.
Well, thank you, Virgil, for that interesting presentation and some of those very cool updates. Appreciate that very much. Thank you.
No problem.
Any questions, as I said, please put them in the chat and we'll be happy to share those. And also we'll definitely make that slide deck available to everyone. So I'm now going to pass it over to Diane, who will introduce our next speaker, Trustee Marty Hellman.
Thank you, Ingrid. It is indeed my pleasure to introduce Martha P. Hillman, who is a Rotary Foundation trustee for 2022 through 26. Marty Hillman is president of the Otto and Fran Walter Foundation, a nonprofit that has helped build schools in developing nations, provided scholarships for at-risk youth, and supplied humanitarian aid to Holocaust survivors, among other initiatives. The Walter Foundation made history in 2021 when it announced plans to completely fund a new Rotary Peace Center. Marty worked as a writer for business executives and as a magazine editor at McGraw-Hill and the American Management Association. She and her spouse, Frank, both joined the Rotary Club of Booth Bay Harbor, Maine in 2003. She has served Rotary as chair of the Peace Major Gifts Initiative and has served on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. A keen fundraiser for the Rotary Foundation, Marty put together a group to support the Sakuji Tanaka Rotary Peace Fellowship, which raised $1 million for the Rotary Peace Centers. Frank, who died in 2022, and Marty chose to support the foundation as major donors, Paul Harris Society members, and inaugural members of the Legacy Society of the Rotary Foundation. Please help me give a warm Rotary welcome to Rotary Foundation trustee, Marty Hellman.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Ingrid, for putting together this evening and for helping us to promote peace through Rotary. I'm delighted to be here. Fergal did a marvelous job of going very quickly through Rotary's peace programs. I am going to talk about just one, and that is our Rotary Peace Centers, which we have had going for over 20 years now, around 22 years. And most people, when they think about the Rotary Peace Centers, think about the master's degree program, and why not? It's a premier program. It's a 2-year master's. We're going to meet graduates of it later on in this hour, and you'll get a chance to see just what an incredible program it is. We have the program available in 5 campuses around the world. But I'm going to turn our attention to the other part of the Rotary Peace Centers, which is the graduate certificate program. Some of you may know that back in the bad old days, the graduate certificate program was available at one university, Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, Thailand, and it started out life and continued life for the first 18 or so years of the peace program as a 3-month classroom experience with students from around the world. These were students who either did not want the master's, maybe they were mid-careerists, maybe they didn't want to give up 2 years of their life, maybe they already had an advanced degree. And because the program is less time in class, and because the students tend to be slightly older, Rotary realized at some point that we were getting faster return on our investment from this program. And so the decision was made in 2018 by the trustees to expand the Rotary Peace Center program by expanding the graduate certificate program. And the master plan is to go from that one school in Bangkok, Thailand, to a total of 4 schools around the globe. A campus in Sub-Saharan Africa, one in Middle East, North Africa, one in Latin America, all places where peace is desperately needed. And then at some point, the program in Bangkok would become the Asia Regional Center. Now, the idea of these regional centers is something that I didn't understand at first. I thought that Rotary was going to spend less time sending people around the world in United Airlines and more time on something more substantive. But the point of the regional program is to bring together people, practitioners who are specialists in that regional area, and bring them together and train them as peacemakers. So, for example, Yinka Babalola, past RI vice president and man from Nigeria, he says of Makerere, the school that has been started in sub-Saharan Africa, he says it's the first time in history that an institution in Africa has been set up to train Africans to come up with African solutions to African problems. That is the key of regionality, of getting people from the region or who are experts in the region together in the same room. They all want the same thing, peace. They merely see it from different angles, and to get them working together. And if you think about it in terms of Africa, slavery stole Africa's human resources. Colonialization stole her natural resources. And now here's Rotary pushing back in one tiny little way and training Africans and people who love and know Africa to work together to create their own peace. To me, it's an incredible opportunity. And as president of the Otto and Fran Walter Foundation, it was that regionality that helped us make the decision to fund the Peace Center in the Middle East. So a search committee was, as you heard, the decision was announced just about 2 years ago. After that happened, a search committee was put together, and Bill Boyd, past RA President Bill Boyd of New Zealand, chaired it. Bryn Stiles of Toronto, who knows everything there is to know about the Peace Centers, was on it. And John Germ joined it after his term as trustee chair ended, and I've had the honor to be on it. We started looking at 30 schools in 11 countries. We narrowed the list. We narrowed the list again. We set up some minimum requirements for where the school would be and what the school would be that we would partner with. We needed, to start with, a place where our students and faculty could be safe. And in the Middle East, that's not necessarily everywhere. So that knocked out a few countries and a few regions. We needed to partner with a school that had proven expertise in peace and development. Not, oh, gee, that's a great idea, I'll start a school next week. I'm a rich Arab sheik and I can afford to do that, but a school which had proven expertise and had the international connections to make things happen. We needed to be in a country, in an area which had a sufficient number of Rotarians and Rotary actors, because part of the Peace Fellow program calls for home visits and some hand-holding as necessary by local Rotarians. So we needed local Rotarians to be able to do that. And probably the most important criteria, at least in my head, we needed a country in which, both by policy and practice, the visa policies were such that all potential students from all regions, no matter what their race, religion, background, passport, would have equal access. And again, that may sound like it's rather basic, and it is, but it's not necessarily the situation throughout the Middle East. We narrowed, we got RFPs from 3 schools. We went on a site selection visit last October, and the school that was selected was Bahçeşehir University, which is a university in Istanbul, Turkey. Bahçeşehir, or BAU, as it's known, both by the students and I think welcomed by outsiders who were falling over that sound in Turkish. Bahçeşehir has 2 campuses in Istanbul. The old campus is on the Hellespont, and the new campus, which is where our students will be, is 20 minutes away by metro. But our students will also have access to the main campus, which is where there are student groups. It's where there's a digital campus if they want to do video work. And it's where they'll meet some of their professors. The school Bahçeşehir is connected with universities throughout Europe and also University of Toronto. And the Bahçeşehir Foundation, which runs the university, is also connected with numerous secondary schools throughout Turkey, including some that are in the southern region of Turkey and have been affected by the earthquake, unfortunately. So right now, the university is very busy working to deal with those programs. That said, we are working with the university to develop the curriculum for the new Peace Center program. There will be a contract signing next November, that is to say November 2023, and the first students will matriculate in January 2025. So basically 2 years from now, we'll have students matriculating. And Stephanie Urchik is planning to make that the debut of the center a centerpiece for her year as Rotary International president. And I just want to say that by moving into the Middle East, Rotary is really moving into the big time. Let's face it, peace in the Middle East is something that I don't know if we'll see in our lifetimes, but it's if you have to choose one place around the world where peace is most critical, it's the Middle East. And so by planting the center there, by training folks who are from the Middle East and who are specialists in the Middle East, we are really making an effort to gather people from around the Middle East into the same room with the same set of criteria, and to give them a chance to help change the world for the better. And I think that's something that all of us as Rotarians can be very proud of. Thank you very much.
Such good news. Wow, so exciting. Thank you so much, Marty, for that update on the newest Peace Center. We are now going to move to Summer Lewis, and I'm going to ask Hadi to introduce Summer.
Good evening, everyone. And it's my pleasure to introduce Summer Lewis. Summer currently manages the Rotary International's strategic partnership with the Institute for Economics and Peace, providing educational tools and coordinating training for Rotary members to understand and take action to build peace. She began her Rotary journey as a university student, thanks to a volunteer service grant to Guatemala, and was later selected as a Rotary Peace Fellow, completing a Master of International Studies, Peace and Conflict Resolution at the University of Queensland, Australia in 2012. Originally from Manhattan, Kansas, Summer has spent more than half her life abroad, working, living, and traveling across 41 countries and 6 continents. Summer currently calls Oksana, Mexico, home. Please welcome our speaker, Summer Lewis. Summer, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I almost feel kind of bad telling you where I am now because it's very warm outside. So I'm based in Oaxaca, Mexico, in the south of Mexico. And it's probably about 80 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So I'm sorry. I know it's a little bit cold in zone 28. Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, Hadi, for the introduction, and thank you, Ingrid, for the kind invitation to be here amongst Rotary leaders. It is indeed an honor. And also, before I begin, I always like to begin by saying thank you. So thank you to the Rotary Foundation. Thank you to Rotarians and Rotary members like yourselves who made it possible for someone like me to become a Rotary Peace Fellow. I won't get into too much of that today because I'm going to focus more on the Rotary Institute for Economics and Peace Partnership, the work that I do with Rotary. But let me just say that what Marty was sharing regarding the Rotary Peace Centers is indeed extremely exciting. I was a Peace Fellow over 10 years ago. I did the master's program, and it's amazing to see how the program has developed. And I completely agree with what Marty is saying. And what Yinka Babaloa mentioned about Makareri. It's amazing to see peace builders being empowered in their own countries and in their own regions. And all of this thanks to generous donations and the Rotary Foundation. So having said all of that, I only have about 8 minutes, so I really don't want to go over my time today. But what I do want to share with you is a bit more about a partnership, a strategic partnership, one of 3 that Rotary has with the Institute for Economics and Peace. So this partnership falls within Rotary's peace building and conflict prevention area of focus, which of course has everything to do with what we're talking about here today. Usually when I do longer presentations, I'll go into a more in-depth history of Rotary's peace work relating to the founding of the UN. I don't have time to do that today, but just know that Rotary has very deep roots in peace building on an international and global level. Now, getting down to Rotary's areas of focus, we're familiar with the 7 areas of focus, peace building and conflict prevention being one of them. But one of the questions that often gets asked in Rotary, I myself still experience this after having been involved with Rotary for almost, I'd say, 15 years now. People say, well, what is peace? How do you define it? I don't understand it. There's so many concepts, it's so difficult. Well, this is one of the reasons that the partnership with IEP, or the Institute for Economics and Peace, came about. Back in 2016, Rotary started doing some small-scale unofficial projects with the Institute for Economics and Peace and realized there could be a really good synergy happening between these 2 organizations. So IEP focuses a lot of their work on the concept of positive peace, which refers to attitudes, institutions, and structures of peaceful societies. It really looks at underlying conditions, attitudes, and structures that need to be in place to have peace. So that's really kind of the basis of IEP. Now, Rotary, of course, is more action-oriented, membership-based organization doing grassroots work in communities. But bringing the 2 together, Rotary's grassroots work and IEP's concept of positive peace seemed like a natural combination within the peace building and conflict prevention area of focus. So the partnership started officially in 2017, and it primarily focuses on education and community-based programming. Now, what this refers to, as I like to say, just make it simple, it's basically about education, peace education for Rotary members, using the positive peace framework that Rotary works with. One thing to mention here, and I don't have time to get into it, in addition to the positive peace framework, Rotary or IEP works a lot with what are called the pillars of positive peace. I'm going to share in the chat when we're finished here the link to the Rotary IP Partnership webpage, and you'll be able from there to download materials that will go into a lot more depth about some of these terms that I'm using, since I don't have time to delve into them deeply today. But just know that the work that Rotary is doing, it's all about positive peace. So it's a natural synergy. So within the partnership, the programming that we really focus on, like I said previously, it's focused on education. We have 3 main activities: the Rotary Positive Peace Academy, which is an online learning platform. It's free to all Rotary members that want to use it. It covers the basic concepts of IEP's Positive Peace Framework, as well as how it relates to Rotary. We have the Rotary Positive Peace Activator Program, which has been mentioned by Fergal, and we have an activator, Simona Pinton, presenting after me. And then we've also focused a lot on doing positive peace workshops in different countries. Taking a step back, though, from the activities, and I'll share a little bit more about that, though, I just want to get a little philosophical here with you regarding this partnership. So a lot of people struggle, I think, especially Rotary members, with this idea or the peace building and conflict prevention area focus, because it's not as simple as, say, water and sanitation. You build a well and then you have sanitation, or you build a school and you have education. Peace is a little bit different. It's really slower. So I believe Marty mentioned a slow process. Well, when we talk about peace building and Rotary, we're definitely talking about a slow process. It's really also part of a system. So we're looking at systems thinking and how systems work. So this is something that we really stress in the partnership, is the work that the partnership is doing in our activities. It really is focused on peace education, but there may not necessarily be a clear result immediately from such work. And it's something that Rotary members perhaps have to get used to, knowing that it's like kind of the long game. It's the long process that we're looking at, but it's really worth it. The partnership also really focuses on building capacity and also making this connection between peace and development. This is what the Positive Peace Framework looks at, the 8 pillars of positive peace, as you can see here, that it's not just a singular activity, it's part of a system, and it has everything to do with development. Some of you may be familiar, for example, with the Sustainable Development Goals. It's all interconnected. And so having said all of that, that is where the partnership has decided to really look at providing educational resources to move initiatives forward. So what has the partnership done and what has been the reach? Well, I mentioned these 3 activities, but I wanted to just briefly share a little bit about the reach that the partnership is achieving. And like I tell people, when we talk about the partnership reach, we're also talking about getting the word out about Rotary. So this is very positive and very good for Rotary members to know that we are getting the word out there through different activities that we're doing. The Positive Peace Academy, the free online learning platform that we have, it's had over 7,400 participants since its inception in 2017. In terms of publicity and word of mouth, we've reached over 64 million people globally. So talking about the partnership, talking about positive peace, and talking about Rotary. This has all been since 2017, since the beginning of the partnership. And then finally, and what I would say is the most exciting program that we have, the Positive Peace Activator Program. We've trained over 202 activators from 70 plus countries, 5 different regions. And these activators, they take part in 20 hours of intensive training. They commit to 2 years of service, of giving back and doing a certain number of what we call educational actions or activities each year. And over time, what we've seen since the inception of this program in 2020, that activators have done over 465 educational actions. Those can be projects, presentations, workshops, trainings, articles, radio interviews, you name it. They've been very active. They've invested over 3,300 hours in doing this work, and they've reached over 128,700 people. So again, we're seeing the impact of the work, and Simona might be able to share a little bit more as an activator about the sort of work that gets done. So just to finalize, Like I said, I'll share more information in the chat, so you can look at the website, you can download, you can go to the Academy, you can download some of the materials that we offer to Rotary members. But just to say, what we find really unique about the partnership and what it's doing is it's really helping to create networks and coalitions and connections between Rotary members and what we call civil society members, and really being able to create some hope in the world. So what Fergal mentioned at the beginning of his talk and talked about how Rotary can present this beacon of hope, what we hope is that this Rotary IP partnership can be part of that. So thank you so much. I'll leave more information in the chat. If you are interested in getting involved with the partnership, I will leave my email as well, and you're welcome to contact me for more information. Thanks.
Summer, such impressive statistics. It's amazing what's happened with that partnership over the last few years.
Isn't it exciting?
It's very exciting. Wow, very exciting.
Thank
Perhaps
you.
we can talk later a little bit more about how we get these positive peace workshops going. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
All right, and now we're going to move on to our next speaker, and we're going to ask Gary to do the honors. Gary, over to you.
Thank you, Ingrid, and thank you for the honor of now introducing Dr. Simona Pinton, who is a Rotary Peace Fellow, lawyer, and senior researcher and lecturer in international law. She has a doctorate in international law from the University of Padua, a master's in law from the University of Berkeley, and a law degree from the University of Ferrara. Dr. Pinton teaches at the University of Padua and is a researcher at the Venice Foundation for Peace Research, focusing on issues such as peace building, conflict prevention, international crimes, and human rights violations. She has served on the prosecutorial team for the UN Tribunal for the Genocide in Rwanda and has consulted for national and international organizations on various projects related to education, cultural rights, mediation, and community development. Dr. Pinton has published extensively, including her most recent book, Post-Genocide Redress in Rwanda, an International Law Perspective. As a Peace Fellow, she attended the master's program at University of Berkeley School of Law from 2002 to 2004. She joined the Rotary in 2009 with the Rotary Club of Padua in Iogenia, Italy. Please welcome Dr. Simona Pinton.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this very kind presentation, and thank you, Ingrid, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here. So I'm going to share my screen as well. Okay, what I would like to focus on today is my work actually with the Rotary. I joined in 2009 as aide, and what I'm now and what I do for peace actually is really the outcome of being me a Rotary Peace Fellow, a Rotary Positive Peace Activator, but also be a member and advisor of the Rotary Foundation cadre of technical advisors. I think many of you are familiar with this body. This is a body made up of more than 500 Rotarians who are acting as volunteers in offering their technical expertise in one or more area of focus. But I'm also, since 2021, the regional coordinator of the cadre of technical advisors in covering and advising Rotarian cadre members who are located in Europe, North Africa, Middle East, and also North Asia. And what I'm going also to present in terms of peace projects, I had the pleasure and the honor to monitor and to evaluate is really in this capacity, but this capacity is really a completion, a sort of integration of my two other bodies who are exactly being a Rotary Peace Fellow and the Positive Peace Activators. As cadre, the role is really to assist the Rotary Foundation officers with grant evaluation, but also helping Rotarians and Rotary members and clubs and districts to plan and implement projects. And as you know, the professional expertise is in one of the area of focus, but what is in and peace building and conflict prevention is exactly one of the 7. But as outlined in my guiding principle, in the principle that are guiding me my service, I mean, peace is really a cross-cutting area of focus. Peace is really, peace building is really into each global grant or each grant or project Rotarians and clubs are carry on. And also, what is interesting is really the fact that the Positive Peace Framework now, since when I attended the activator training, is part of my service as a cadre member. I'm always including in my monitoring and evaluation or in supporting Rotarians with the grant application process. I'm including this framework into the reflection and the reasoning and the planning of grants, because as was well said by Summer, Positive Peace could be really an amazing framework for really achieving stronger and more successful outcomes of the peace project. And I will present today 2 different projects. One is called Rotary Hands Across Water. It's a project I have monitored and evaluated since 2015. This is a project supported by 5 different global grants, and is a project that is promoting cross-cultural exchange through water conservation. It is a program of education, of science projects, of field trips, school competition, and technology conferences based on a multidisciplinary STEAM approach. And what is interesting is that this is a project that in back 2006, but since that time, more than 100 schools in the Israeli land have been involved. And these schools are schools including teachers and students from different religious, ethnic, and cultural background, because there are Jewish secular, Jewish religious, Muslim, Arab Christians, and Druze schools. And this project was successful because it built upon a strong partnership. And this partnership includes a collaboration with industries, academia, more than 40 Rotary clubs and 7 districts, and has been recognized as a noteworthy program during the in 2017, and exactly because it has the capacity to really to try to achieve a peace that is a peace in the land, a peace between different communities, but focusing on STEAM education, and moreover is trying to promote a dialogue between the different communities, offering the opportunities to students to really work together on specific projects for the community development, focusing, as I said, on water and sanitation issues, but also offering students the opportunity really to experience on themselves the possibility to work together, even if they are coming from communities in conflict. And what is extremely interesting about this project is that it's success and the principles and the logic behind has been brought outside Israel, especially in countries interested in dealing with problems of water scarcity and approaching these issues of water scarcity through improved technologies. The goal is really to increase the awareness of students, but also of teachers, because the project is building upon training the teachers on technicalities and STEAM subjects, but also really using them this approach to address the interest of students on communicating, but also to try to be together in a specific science project. So what this project has tried to do is to have chosen the challenge of water and sanitation to really promote a transcultural and international scientific education collaboration. The promotion of dialogue, of mutual understanding has been chosen to foster an awareness of issues of global interest and to induce youth and their families to work together to overcome differences and misunderstanding as far as possible. So he's using the awareness as to a global challenge, like could be the one dealing with water and sanitation, as a way to move students and families away from the conflict in itself and to provide a common ground for being engaged together. The second project that is more a sort of cause I'm involved in is the fight against sex trafficking. I had the opportunity to start to work on this cause thanks to a new Rotary Club that has been created in 2021 in the Seattle area, and is the Rotary Club of the Pacific Northwest Ending Sex Trafficking. And what is interesting, and I want to share with you, is that the idea of establishing this club grew from the commitment of the Seattle Rotary Peace Builders Committee, who was involved in different projects trying really to deal with the issue of sex trafficking, minor sex trafficking. Unfortunately, the Seattle area is a hub for this type of crimes. And one of the most successful projects was really to create an educational project for healthcare professionals and firefighters about the sex trafficking and how to identify signs of this crime. Why human trafficking is significant and is so connected to peace? Because human trafficking is a matter of human security. This has been recognized already in 2012 by a UN recognition, by a resolution by the General Assembly. Human trafficking has indeed far-reaching consequences for persons, safety and dignity, and usually flourish in areas affected by armed conflict or other precarious living conditions. But it's just fragile states, forced or irregular migration, poverty, discrimination, and lack of rule of law are just some of the factors that act as a fertile breeding ground for human trafficking. However, human trafficking is also a source of finances for armed conflict and violent extremism, which in turn can increase conflict and fragility. And you see the strong connection between this horrible crime and peace in the communities, but peace in the states. Here is just an idea of the kind of projects we have done so far with this Rotary Club. and I just want to mention the one called Soap Service. This project allow us to assemble and package hotel soaps with stickers that contain information to prevent sex trafficking in support of these organizations Save Our Adolescents from Prostitution during the Super Bowl initiative, because many could be aware, but the Super Bowl is really one of the event in which the sex trafficking and the sex abuse of minors is occurring. So I thank you very much for the attention, and I give back the floor to Ingrid. And of course, I'm very available for any kind of information or requests you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Simona. Fascinating projects. Thank you for sharing. There's certainly a few highlights, and I'm sure that if anyone would like more information, Simona would be willing to answer that. We now have a few minutes for some questions, and I'm going to just ask our assistants that were helping us with the introductions, are there any questions that you would like to bring forward?
Well, I think the speakers addressed basically the comments. There were a couple of comments there, but it was that all of us are active in building peace. If we are formally in the program, yes, but even just doing projects at all, working through local, everything we do contributes to that peace if we make the world better.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I noticed that, Marty, there was a question that came about who has access to that newest Peace Center?
I'm not sure what is meant by access. Who are the students who can apply?
Mm-hmm.
For the graduate certificate program, Rotary requires the students to have 5 years work experience in peace or related field in the region. When I say work, Rotary doesn't care if it's paid or unpaid, but 5 years experience doing peace work in the region. So, for example, in the case of the new program and in Turkey, the person might be an Israeli or a Palestinian or from one of the small Arab states and have done work in their own community, or they could be somebody from Canada or the US who went over to the Middle East, North Africa region with an NGO and worked for 5 years.
Okay.
Just so you know, for the master's program, the requirement is 3 years work experience and can be anywhere in the world.
Okay, thank you. I know Lauren had a question about the Media Beyond Borders.
Yeah, Ingrid, just to tell you, District 5040 has had a 2-year working relationship with Media Beyond Borders. And so the question to Summer Lewis was more about the next stage of that, and the fact that we have 19 people who will probably receive certification. And I didn't know if the next stage was joining this Peace Activators list, or whether it was just continuing to do what we've done best, and that's just facilitating these sessions. We do hope with another year or year and a half under our belt, we'll be able to start offering this service, I think, to other districts, but that's where we're at right now. And so that was more the leading question, Summer, was I did not know about the Peace Activator group and how you get more involved at that level, because we've been doing it internally in District 5040.
Yeah, so Mediators Beyond Borders, they're their own organization, totally separate from the Institute for Economics and Peace, totally separate from Rotary. I do know that Mediators Beyond Borders has a service partnership with Rotary, whereas IEP has a strategic partnership. So technically there's a difference there, but we won't get into it. And I know MBBI offers their own, Mediators Beyond Borders, MBBI offers their own trainings, their own workshops, their own certifications. They do work quite extensively with Rotary members. They're an excellent option in terms of learning and training, et cetera. Some of our Positive Peace Activators are affiliated with or connected to MBBI, but in my work and with the partnership, there's not a formal connection there per se. Now, if you are interested in learning more about the Positive Peace Activator program, which is part of the partnership and officially sanctioned, I guess we say, by Rotary, that there is more information available on the website. So the Rotary IEP webpage, there's a page for activators, and you can find out more information. We have done trainings in 5 regions. We've already done North America, but there are chances that once we work through, there's a goal to do 7 regions by 2025. There's still chances in the future of doing more trainings. Regardless, you can find more information at that webpage. We do also have activators based in Zone 28. So if someone says, well, I want to have them come and present to my club or give us a training or a talk or something, you can contact me and I'm happy to connect you to those particular people.
Thanks, Summer. A question came to me about the positive peace workshops. How do districts access those?
Okay, so I briefly mentioned positive peace workshops in my presentation, and those were mostly referring to some workshops that were done with the Rotary IP partnership in 2017, 2018, and 2019 in both Mexico and Colombia. Out of those workshops came a curriculum or a guide for doing workshops that is available on the Rotary IEP partnership webpage. And basically that's pretty much up to a Rotary district. If they check out that guide or they say, you know what, we want to do a large scale workshop with 200 participants who are Rotaractors, Rotary members, and or community members, I'm happy to offer, kind of guidance and assessment with that. In terms of, I guess you could say, partnership supported positive peace workshops, we haven't done as many of those in the past few years. It's been more of this idea of we can offer some support and the districts can feel free to go out and do their work. We can provide the curriculum, connections to the Institutes for Economics and Peace. If districts want to look for a global grant to fund that, they're welcome to. So in that sense, we encourage districts to think about doing that, or even zones if they wish, and we can provide, or I can provide, some degree of assessment and accompaniment. But it's really up to the districts. It's up to Rotary members as to what they really want to end up doing.
Great. Well, thank you. We've had some wonderful inspirational highlights tonight about the different peace programs that Rotary is involved in. At the core of all of it, of course, is the Rotary Foundation. As you've noted in the chat, resources are going to be available on the Zone 2832 website. Please feel welcome to contact me or some of our speakers, or certainly your Assistant Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator if you have any follow-up questions. The recording will also be available for anyone that had to leave early. I know some people had some board meetings they had to attend to. So I want to just first of all say that this evening has warmed my heart. It shows that we have passionate people interested in peace building. You can tell I'm getting emotional. Peace is definitely the long game. We have to stay with it and stay strong, all of us together. Everyone, not just Rotarians, members of the public, our neighbors. And where does it start? Well, incoming chair, Trustee Barry Brazen, who is going to be leading the trustees next year, I believe. He is a past Rotary International governor during my governor year. He said, peace begins with a conversation. And so my call to action is to each one of you tonight. Let's go out there. Let's begin those conversations with our members in our clubs, in our districts, in our neighborhood, because peace is possible. I want to thank our esteemed speakers tonight for sharing their expertise and their experiences. I think you all agree we had a very inspirational session. Thanks to our Zone 28 Foundation team. Thanks to Bruce Goldson for being our tech backup. And of course, most of all, thank you to all of you for being with us tonight.